This is your daily dose of all things royal.
Because like everything, it's lie upon lie upon lie.
Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. You know, I gotta admit, I'm convinced we are in some kind of sick human experiment that is being played on the world with this. There is no other explanation for all these lies and manipulations that I'm finding in going back and looking through all this stuff. Today we're going to talk about Thomas Markle's brothers, Mike and Fred. If you believe that these are real people, both of them made it past age 80. So why was Thomas Markle pulling on the heartstrings in various interviews saying this?
Most of the Markle men don't make it much past 80.
Uncle Mike made it to 82, and Uncle Fred is going on to 83. So who is Thomas Markle talking about? He's now 80 years old. Is he talking about his father, who appears to have not made it that close? He died in 1979, but the only record that we have of that is this from Family Search, and they pulled this information from the U.S. Census. This photo came from the Markle family camp, as it was seen in the Daily Mail, the Mirror, also other tabloid magazines. The photo that's being referenced is this one that's supposed to be with Samantha and Junior. So according to the Daily Mail, Gordon Markle was 58 years old when he posed with his son, Thomas's elder two children, Samantha and Thomas Markle Jr., for this family portrait. So if he died in 1979 at 61, then that would mean this picture would have been taken in 1976, a year before Thomas Markle met Doria. So folks, I'm in need of a sanity check because on the left-hand side, Thomas Markle, My Story, he shows this picture of Samantha, who is apparently 12 years old. And then you have the photo on the right-hand side that was given by the Daily Mail. And when I look at the two pictures together, that doesn't look like Samantha Markle that we know. I think the one on the left looks like Samantha Markle, but the one with the grandfather doesn't look anything like Samantha Markle. The same thing goes for Thomas Markle Jr. When you look at these two pictures side by side, those two boys look nothing alike. So you might be saying, well, the Daily Mail and the Mirror, they probably lied. Who knows if it came directly from the Markles? And you know what? That would be a plausible excuse. However, this photo comes up in Thomas Markle's documentary, My Story. And as you can see, all the faces except for one is blurred out. And if you notice, the gentleman whose face is blurred out, in his shirt pocket is a cigar. You know who else had a cigar, coincidentally? That would be Grandpa Markle. You know, when you think about it, why would they blur out his face? That would probably be because this photo had been circulating with Sam and Junior already, so the story wouldn't have jived. And, you know, if I had to guess, they did a little photoshopping to Samantha's photo in which they colored in a little bit of a white shirt to make it look like he's wearing different clothes, but something tells me that's the same outfit. Even though you can't fully see this man's face, you can make out that this guy has the same features in the photo that's in the left-hand side, as well as how coincidental is it that he has a cigar in his pocket and then this photo has him actually holding the cigar. So let's talk a little bit about Thomas Markle's mother and father, Doris Markle and Gordon Markle.
My mother worked in a 5 and dime store. She was the candy lady.
Just so everybody understands, Thomas Markle never talks about his father or mentions his father as to what he did or where he went or when he died, nothing. And even in Samantha Markle's book, doesn't really talk much about him or what happened to him. The heavy focus was on Doris. I'd like to point out on the very first page of the very first chapter of Samantha Markle's book, The Diary of Princess Pushy's Sister, it says in black and white that Doris was jovial and very pretty. She was somewhat shy and did not date until she met Gordon A. Markle on August 8th, 1941. Well, if that's the case, then how is it in the last line of this paragraph where it says Doris and Gordon were married on March 13th, 1941? Isn't August after March? So you might be saying to yourself, well, maybe that was just a typo and that she really meant 1942. And yeah, you could give the benefit of the doubt. But then again, throughout this entire book, there are so many examples of dates being wrong. Simple example, her own father's birth year. She calls it as 1945, but Thomas Markle Sr. was born in 1944.
I was born in 1944, born in a town called Millersburg, Pennsylvania.
In previous videos, I pointed out other errors that were made along the lines of dates and the photos that were put into this book. In addition, she got Megan's birthday wrong. What's baffling to me is that this is the first page of the first chapter of this book. Even if you didn't get to proofread the entire thing, at least the first page you would have checked. That should have stood out immediately. The other thing that I'm baffled by is how come I didn't catch this the first time around? And I believe I have the right copy and edition because it's the same copy and edition that Tom Bauer used for his book. Anyway, moving on to Thomas Markle and his brothers.
You had two brothers. Were they older brothers or younger?
Both older brothers. Mike is 5 years older and Fred is 2 years older.
Well, okay then, if that is the truth that they're going with, there's a couple things that I'm raising on this marriage license application that was filled out. So yeah, the date of issue was March 13th, 1941. So the big question is, if Thomas Markle was born in July of 1944 and Uncle Mike was 5 years older than him, wouldn't that mean he would have been born in 1939, hence having a child out of wedlock? It doesn't appear that Doris was that kind of gal, does it now? The other thing that feels quite MEGAZI is that Gordon's last name, Markle, is spelled Markel. And if you notice, Doris has her signature there, and it looks as if Doris was the one who filled this form out. When you look at the statement of the mail, where Gordon was supposed to sign, there's no signature. But even more crazy to me is that on the opposite page with two other people who applied for a marriage license, you can see the same handwriting that filled out the form, but obviously signatures of the applicants are clearly different. You can go ahead and pause it and compare it for yourself. I mean, it is clear Doris's handwriting matches the same handwriting filling out these applications. And how is it that Gordon Markle, spelled Markel, didn't even sign the thing? What I find truly peculiar here is that not only is the family spelling their last name Markel, but when you look at the census from 1950, and it's the only record that I could find that had Thomas Wayne Markle or Thomas Markle, Doris, Gordon, and the two brothers, allegedly, is seen here. And what's really peculiar about this is that it shows that Michael, Uncle Mike, the ex-diplomat, was born in New Hampshire. That is if we have the correct family. I mean, assuming that Gordon F represents Frederick, and you can see the age range that would be within the window that Thomas Markle is speaking of. But why is the last name being spelled Markel? Now, the other funkiness that I'm finding is that, one, I cannot find a death certificate of a Gordon Arnold Markle, even if it is spelled Markel. Two, I cannot find a death certificate for a Doris May Rita Saunders Markle, spelled Markel or Markle. Nowhere to be found. And three, cannot find a death certificate for good old Uncle Mike. Even an obituary is nowhere to be found. Back when Uncle Mike passed away, there were people that asked to see an official obituary, but there was nothing that was produced. Even Samantha, Tom Jr., and even Thomas Markle didn't really talk about their beloved uncle and brother passing away and how sad they were. I mean, it was in the height of COVID, so that was a convenient excuse to not go to a funeral. But what happened? Where did Uncle Mike end up getting to rest in peace? You know what I mean? Was he cremated? Was he buried? The more and more I look into this, I'm getting this feeling that these people are not real. When you go back to all the family records that are out there on Gordon Arnold Markle and Doris Markle, they only show Thomas Markle as being their child. They don't mention Michael. They don't mention Frederick. So the question is, did they just pull these people to create stories and then to distract us to look over here and not over there type of situation? Like this photo that came up in the Daily Mail around Uncle Fred, who apparently is a bishop in a church of one. I mean, like, you just can't make this up. In the beginning, interestingly enough, they only talked about Uncle Fred. They never talked about Uncle Mike. In fact, in the family trees, they never included Uncle Mike in there. So I'm thinking that's another lie that we were told. Think about how outrageous these stories have been pertaining to Meghan Markle's white side of the family. But this popped up once or twice in the media, and then it was forgotten. Like, what happened to Uncle Fred? Now, I'm going to go ahead and trust my gut on this one, but I don't believe the story of how Thomas Markle wasn't aware of Coleman Rayner and what they were about. In fact, I believe that part of the story that we're being told is not true. Like, why was Uncle Mike giving photos to Coleman Rayner as well as Splash News if, let's say, Thomas Markle had just found out how bad Coleman Rayner was because he was set up by them? This happened after the fact. And when you look back and you reflect on all that was said and done and the bizarreness of all of it, it very much feels like this was political street theater. Look, don't be surprised that over the next couple days, we're going to see one of Meghan's cousins pop up in a parking lot somewhere, or we're going to see an obituary notice come out from someone real quick just to cover their basis. But, like, where has it been? In any case, when you look at this photo, can you honestly tell me that the man sitting in the very middle, Uncle Mike, next to Meghan, is 3 years older than the guy who's sitting to his right? That would be Uncle Fred. I mean, look at Thomas Markle in the background there. Literally, they're supposed to be 5 years different. This guy looks like he's 90 years old. I mean, like, they really think people are stupid. Actually, we are, because we believed all of it. Nobody challenged it. Like, the crazy thing here about this photo is that Meghan at the time was in high school, allegedly. And that would have been like 20-something years ago. So Uncle Mike should have looked a lot younger than what he looks like in this photo. Let's all ask this honest question of ourselves. When you see this photo with all these pictures, do you see a general familial resemblance to any one of them? I don't know about you, but I am not seeing it. And with all these errors that we're finding in these pictures and the deep fakes with the videos, in addition to the inconsistencies in the stories, nothing is adding up. Plus the mistakes that we're seeing in Samantha's book, who's to say that these people are related? I mean, why can't we challenge that now based off of all this evidence that dictates otherwise? I searched extensively for this death record for Uncle Mike, spelling it Markle or Markel. No records have come up. So either he's under a different last name, maybe when he was born in New Hampshire, or he just doesn't exist. Would any of us be surprised at this point if that too was a lie? I don't think so. I think we should expect that it is a lie. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, leaving you with this final picture, a picture that we've seen 1,000 times but never noticed this one detail. This is a photo that Samantha Markle gave to In Touch Weekly for that exclusive interview that she did. When you look at this photo, look at the armrests of Samantha's chair. One is definitely higher than the other. As you can see with the yellow line that I put there, it doesn't actually meet where the tip of the armrest is. The red line is where the tip is. So is that something that was Photoshop? Is it because Meghan is leaning on it and pushed it down? I don't know. In theory, if Samantha has both her elbows on the armrests, she would look a little bit lopsided leaning towards Meghan with the dip in the other armrest. So, could this be that her arm is not resting on that other armrest? I don't know. I can't really tell, but I'm going to ask you guys to leave your thoughts on this this picture. I mean, we've been made to think that she was outside with this background, but when you're looking at it from a holistic perspective, you realize that she's not outside and there's somebody on her other shoulder that has been cut out. So wondering, who do you think this is in the picture now? I don't think that Megan's in this picture anymore based off of all these other photos where we've seen clear manipulation with it. What do you think happened here, folks? At this point, I really am having a hard time believing anything that is being said about this woman that they're calling Megan, as well as everybody else who has played a role in this saga, even the royal family. The thing that I want to know here now at this point is, what was the point of all of this? What was the point of all this manipulation to collaborate on and to support as well as go along with? I mean, when we're talking about these photos that have been circulating around, they have the blessing of the Markles because the Markles themselves had given it to them. Look, at this point, I don't care if the Markles are pissed off. They can be pissed off all they want. All I'm asking is make this make sense. I didn't put this stuff out there. They did. They're the ones that put it out there with the inaccuracies, with the inconsistencies. So explain all of that. Don't make us feel stupid that we don't believe you because of what you said, contradicting what is actually in front of our faces. Enough of this game because I'm not playing it anymore and I'll call it out every time I see it. And I'm going to go ahead and stop right here because I'm starting to hear my New York accent come out. And that's how you know that I'm getting irritated. So we're going to pause right here. Definitely let me know your thoughts below. I'm going to play this last clip for you. This was in the Thomas Markle 60-minute documentary before little Betty was born. Listen to the words of this music and you tell me if this is a subliminal message that is being sent to the world by doing this.
Sometimes I think we've been lied to.
Sometimes I think we've been lied to. That's an understatement. In any case, I'm going to leave you on that note, but definitely let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
I was such a fraud.